Hi, drivers. I'm Tammy Wallensack, divorce mortgage specialist and the founder of Empowered in Coupling. If you're navigating divorce or even just thinking about it, today's conversation is one that can completely change the tone of the entire process. Because here's the truth. Divorce isn't just a legal event. It's emotional. It's financial. It's a major family shift. And the way you handle it now, the choices you make, the tone you set, the way you communicate will echo for years in your children's hearts, your finances, and your peace. Most people go into a divorce trying to win, but the reality is no one truly wins when the process becomes a war. You might win the argument, but lose thousands in attorney fees, months of your life, and years of peace with your kids. So today, we're going to talk about what it really means to keep your divorce amicable and child-focused, how to understand the law so you don't take counterproductive positions, why picking your top 3 big asks can keep you sane and strategic, and how to shift your mindset from reactive to resolution focused. Amicable divorce doesn't mean you're weak. It doesn't mean you don't have boundaries. It means you're choosing respect over revenge. When couples choose an amicable path, whether that's mediation, collaboration, or just keeping communication civil, they're really saying, we're not letting the court decide our future. We are. That one decision can save families tens of thousands of dollars and months, even years of unnecessary conflict. Because judges don't know your kids, your routines, or your values. They just know what's on paper. If you can keep communication open enough to make your own agreements, that's a gift to your entire family. One of the biggest mistakes I see every single week is people making emotional promises or taking hard positions without understanding what legally or financially that means, or if it's even possible. You might hear someone say, I'm keeping the house and you're not getting a dime, or he's paying everything, period. But here's the thing, the law doesn't operate on feelings of fairness. It operates on enforceability. You can't enforce something that's not realistic. For example, a parent might agree to pay for all the extracurriculars forever, but unless that's written in a specific, enforceable way, it may never hold up. Or maybe one spouse agrees to keep the home, but can't actually afford to qualify for a refinance. So the mortgage stays joint, their credit stays linked, and both people stay stuck. These are avoidable mistakes, and they happen when emotions drive decisions instead of information. So before you take a position, ask yourself 3 questions. Is it legally possible? Is it financially sustainable? And is it healthy for my kids in the long run? If the answer to any of those is no, it's time to really pause and get professional guidance. Now, let's talk about the child-focused piece, because every divorce has 2 sides, the adult's emotional story and the kid's lived experience. When I say child-focused, I don't just mean parenting schedules. I mean every decision, housing, finances, communication, filtered through one question. How will this impact my children's sense of safety and stability? Kids don't need perfection. They need peace. They need to know both parents are still their team. Even if the family looks different, that means not using them as messengers, not speaking poorly of the other parent, and not fighting over small things just to make a point. It also means being honest about what stability really looks like. Keeping the marital home might seem comfortable, but not if it creates financial chaos. Kids feel your stress. If staying means living in anxiety, it may be healthier to build a new, stable home that fits your post-divorce life. Stability is emotional, not just physical. Here's another hard truth. You're not going to get everything you want in your divorce, even if your spouse behaved terribly during the marriage. Divorce isn't about moral payback. It's about dividing what you built together and creating 2 separate futures from one shared past. So pick your battles and pick your top 3 big asks. List everything that matters, the house, financial stability, time with your kids, retirement account. Then ask yourself, if I could walk away with 3 things that truly matter to me, what would they be? When you know your top 3, you gain clarity, and clarity is power. Everything else becomes negotiable. That approach protects your peace and shows the other side that you're reasonable. And being reasonable carries a lot of weight, not just with mediators, but with judges too. So let me share a real world example. A couple I worked with had a court order stating that the wife would refinance the marital home into her own name. Sounds straightforward, right? But because they were still legally married at the time of the closing, the title company required the husband to sign a homestead waiver. It's basically a document stating that he gives up his ownership rights in exchange for the equity he was getting elsewhere in the settlement. He refused to sign it, not because he wanted the home, but because he was still angry about other things, furniture, dishes, little arguments that had nothing to do with the refinance. He used that document as leverage. The result? Delays, more attorneys involved, court filings, more fees. By the end, they'd spent thousands of dollars arguing over things that could have been replaced for a fraction of that cost. It's a perfect example of what happens when emotion takes over logic. One of the healthiest things you can do in divorce is trade fantasy for facts. Instead of saying, I deserve this because of what happened, say, given the laws and my financial reality, what's actually possible? That mindset doesn't make you weak, it makes you strategic. When you approach your case with realistic expectations, you save money, reduce conflict, and build a foundation for long-term peace. And remember, you don't have to do it alone. The right team can change everything. A mediator helps guide the conversation. A financial expert helps model the outcomes. A divorce mortgage specialist like me makes sure that the settlement language works for lending rules. And a therapist or coach keeps you grounded. Each plays a role, but together they build a smoother process. Now, let's talk about staying child-focused when emotions run high. Because no matter how rational we try to be, divorce activates the fight or flight part of our brain. You're grieving, you're scared, you're exhausted, all normal. When you feel yourself getting reactive, pause and ask, is this about the kids' needs or my hurt? If you're hurt, acknowledge it privately, not in the negotiation. If it's your kids' needs, focus on the solution, not the blame. Every time you respond calmly, instead of reacting, you're modeling emotional maturity for your children. And that's a life skill that will outlast this entire season of your life. Before you finalize anything, do a financial reality check. Can you actually afford what's being proposed? Will a lender view your income the same way the court does? How will this affect your credit or your ability to qualify later? I've seen people agree to refinance timelines or buyouts that simply weren't possible, and it sends them right back to court. Understanding the intersection between family law and mortgage lending helps you avoid that trap. Bringing in professionals early before your agreement is final, that's how you protect yourself. When it comes to communicating during divorce, less is more. Keep messages short, factual, and neutral. Use I statements instead of blame. For example, say things like, I'd like to talk about how we can both support the kids' activities instead of, you never help. If texting causes tension, use a co-parenting app and stop relitigating the marriage during the divorce. Focus on the future, not the past. You're not just ending something, you're beginning something new. You're not just divorcing a person, you're transforming a life. That takes patience. You don't need to have it all figured out today. You just need to make more informed, intentional choices that align with your values. You can't control your ex, but you can control your response, your tone, and your focus. That's where the power lies. That's how amicable divorces happen, not because both people are perfect, but because one or both decide that peace is worth more than punishment. And here's what I want you to remember from today. Amicable isn't weak, it's wise. Understand the laws before you make promises. Stay child-focused always. Pick your top 3 big asks and let the rest go. Trade emotion for information. Build your team early, and above all, protect your peace. It's your most valuable asset. I want to leave you with one of my favorite quotes. Peace doesn't mean life is perfect. It means you've chosen to rise above the noise. If you can hold on to that through this process, you're already winning because you're showing your kids what strength, grace, and integrity looks like. If this video helped you, please subscribe to Empowered Uncoupling, this channel, and turn on your notifications. I share videos every couple weeks, And if they've helped you navigate your divorce with clarity and confidence, please drop some comments in the comment section. And if you're making decisions about your home, whether to keep it, sell it, or refinance, download my divorce home planning guide. It'll help you understand your options before making costly mistakes. Remember, Thrivers, this isn't the end of your story. It's the start of your rebuild. Reset, rebuild, and rise. I'll see you in the next video.